oil trains. Rosemary Drager, Kelly's going to be speaking later. She's also one of the coordinators, and we're so excited that you're here. We have a number of speakers, and I'm just going to do a little introduction, and then I'm going to call on speakers. We have people from all different towns, and we're thrilled that you're here. We have elected officials, and so on. And thank you to Riverkeeper, Hackensack Riverkeeper, for the sound system and the music. How many of you live within 1 mile of the rails? How many? You and I live in the danger zone, the evacuation area, along with millions of other Americans and Canadians who live along the rail lines that carry back in crude oil. If you live in Bergen or Hudson County and you drink the water, raise your hand. That should be all, most of us. That water is from this reservoir right over here. Raise your hands if you've come in from out of town, from out of Bergen County to be with us. Yeah, we've got lots and lots of people from groups all over the state and from New York State who are also involved in this issue.
This is the back.
There are two parts of this effort. One is prevention, and the other is evacuation. But actually there's a third part that's not talked about, and that is the costly cleanup, the recovery, and the remediation. The focus of our coalition to ban unsafe oil trains is prevention. Most of these trains go through low-lying areas along rivers and lakes and wetlands and watersheds. Back in crude, as you know, is highly unstable, highly flammable, toxic, and it's dangerous stuff. Derailments in the last few years have been near waterways. The one on Thursday in Galena, near Galena, Illinois, was right next to the Upper Mississippi River National Wildlife and Refuge. That's scary. Wildlife and Fish Refuge area. Very important area. The one in La Mégantic, Quebec, where 47 people were vaporized. Now, over 1 year later, the Chaudière River, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it just right, is still contaminated. Workers are finding crude oil at the bottom of the river. So I'm going to just step over here and get this little jar, please. Because you all know that you all did this at home or in school. What does this tell us? Oil and water don't mix. They don't mix, right? And in that derailment in Quebec, the crude oil went down. Crude oil goes up. That's scary because you can't clean it. You can't clean it. They're still trying. There were derailments in Aliceville, Alabama, near a wetland, Lynchburg, Virginia, near the James River, Timmins, Ontario, over a creek, and the Upper Castaway Lake. In Virginia, a couple weeks ago, on the Kanawha River, right near the water treatment plants. In each case, there was damage to air, land, and water supplies. And in some, tragically, there were death and injuries to people and, of course, wildlife. The crude, back in crude, goes over the little bridge over here. Have you seen the little bridge? Yes. It's right back there. If you go down Schrellenberg a little ways across from Cedar Lane, that's a little tiny bridge. The trains were going over that bridge during the state of emergency, both times. Does that make sense? No! Do you want back in crude to go over our reservoir and through our communities?
No!
Do you want it back in crude to go under Route 4, Route 80, Route 95, Route 46, or next to Newark Airport?
No!
We can and we must stop it. And while we try to stop it, we must seek funding for research and development of green energy. We urge you to join the coalition to ban unsafe oil trains. Our next meeting is March 16th. There's some announcements here at the table. And I'm going to introduce the first, okay. Okay, Holly Schepisi is representing, and I have your district, 39th district. Okay,
Represents this district.
right here, so you feel it, you guys.
Yay, Howie!
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Holly Schepisi. I'm the Assemblywoman representing District 39. And we also have Assemblyman Tim Eustace representing District 38. I'm here on behalf of myself, Assemblyman Ox, Senator Jerry Cardinale, who all represent District 39. We want you to know that this is an issue that we are all taking incredibly seriously. Democrats, Republicans, people across district lines are all working together to ensure the safety of our communities. I live less than a mile away. I'm a mother of a 3-year-old and 11-year-old. This is my drinking water. This is something that concerns all of us. I helped sponsor a resolution, AR 171, with Assemblyman Jack Chittarelli, who's from another portion of our state, who also has the same concerns regarding his population. And with some of the recent developments, the study that came forth indicating that we could have potentially up to 10 derailments, every couple of years, that we had every year, that we had the derailment that occurred in West Virginia, which thankfully was not in a densely populated area such as Bergen County. It is incumbent upon us to reach out to the federal government and to beg them to implement higher safety standards for these modes of transportation. We met with CSX, we've met with our local OEM coordinators, we met with Bergen County, with Jimmy Tedesco, with the freeholders, with people from both political sides, with our OEM, to start talking about what we need to do to mitigate the risk, to be able to ensure the safety of our residents, our drinking supply, and we are committed to doing anything within our power to try to help our communities. Now, CSX, which we met with, which actually runs these railways, they are supportive of the increased safety standards. They flat out said at a meeting that they support the upgrades that are taking place. What happened in North Dakota? North Dakota has the ability, because it's coming from North Dakota, to implement their own safety standards. We support that. It is something that we want to see the federal government embrace and implement as soon as possible. So if you need anything, please reach out. You have all of our support, and we are here to try to help you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Assemblyman Tim Eustace, District 38.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, everybody, for being out here. As
Hey!
Schepisi said, this is not a partisan issue. This is a New Jersey issue and really a national issue. I serve with Senator Gordon and Assemblyman Lagana at District 38. We're down in the Paramus area, but we live in the most densely populated state in the country, and we have these trains coming through here. 5 years ago, no, 2008, it was under 10,000 cars came through the country. Now we're up to 500,000 cars, 500,000 rail cars filled with crude. And we see from the fire that burned in West Virginia for 5 days, what would we do if we had a fire burning for 5 days out here? How would we recover? Our water supply would be taken away immediately. So the support that Assemblywoman Schepisi and CSX has had to make this, if we're going to have it, we're going to have to make it safer. If it has to pass through the most densely populated state in the country, we have to make sure that we protect our drinking water and ourselves. We cannot get more water. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
I'm looking for Norman Schmelzer from Bergenfield. Good. Great. Mayor of Bergenfield.
Thank you all for coming out today. I just have a few short things to say. Back in January, we met with legislators and a lot of the mayors from the towns where the trains passed through. Our county executive, Jim Tedesco, was there as well. And we met with all our fire officials to develop a plan. It's certainly, you're not going to be able to put the fire out, so it's really more of an evacuation plan than anything. We all understand we need to get off of the dependency of oil.
There you go.
Yeah!
Forget the oil companies.
That's the whole issue.
That's the issue. Get off of oil.
We have to get over.
However,
Fuel.
However,
Until.
we have to make it safe for our environment while we're doing this. Okay? There's a couple of things I support implementing safer ways of transporting this oil. One example may be pipelines. I know everybody doesn't want to hear that. The other Easy.
They got snowballs. Take it easy.
My parents live right on the railroad tracks, so I certainly want safe trains. I grew up no more than 50 feet. My bedroom is on the railroad tracks. My parents are even closer than that to the railroad tracks right now. We need two things we have to look at. We need to slow the trains down. That's the first thing. And the second thing, we need more money to inspect these tracks on a daily basis. You know, right now they're doing them yearly. That's not enough. We need to inspect them all the time. And, you know, at some point, these guys are going to have to cut back on the money that they make and put more money into security.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I have to say. Thank you for coming out.
Before I introduce Councilwoman June Chung from Harrington Park, I want to thank the Harrington Park Police again for escorting people so that we would be safe. Thank you, Harrington Park Police. There are two members of the council here today, and the other person is Michelle Ryan from Harrington Park Council, and she works with their environmental commission. So, June, where's June? There you go.
Good afternoon.
Oh, and you can stand together, though. They're on this council together.
This is Councilwoman Michelle Ryan, and my name is June Chung. I serve as a councilwoman in Harrington Park. I'm here today on behalf of Mayor Holscher, who unfortunately was unable to join us due to schedule conflict. Trains with millions of gallons of highly flammable crude travel through Harrington Park regularly. Also, Harrington Park has the only curve on the line, which alerts us even more of facing the possible danger of derailment.
Would you tell us a little bit about that? Because people might not know about that curve. If you make it a little louder, because that curve is important.
Well, it is a very big concern because due to the current speed of the train, because Harrington Park is one of those towns that has curve, that we are at a higher risk of a derailment. And it is certain that the federal, state, county, and local governments must work together to ensure the safety of our residents. In an effort to raise awareness and initiate change, Mayor Paul Holscher hosted a meeting in Harrington Park regarding safety issues on the CSX line in early last spring. It was attended by mayors, police chiefs, fire chiefs, emergency management coordinators, and CSX representatives. Various other meetings have increased interest in changes to federal law related to traffic on the CSX line. Mayor Holscher has contacted U.S. Senators Menendez and Booker, as well as Congressman Garrett. Senator Booker has already indicated an interest in working with us. As a result, Mayor Holscher is trying to set up a meeting with a senator to bring about a change in federal policy. United Water is also very supportive of positive changes to current regulations. Harrington Park will continue to fight for a safer regulations and national changes. We will keep you informed of all future meetings related to train safety. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you so much. I was just informed that the Closter Police are helping us, and they've been escorting people. So we want to thank them. We really, let's thank them.
Yay, Closter Police!
Really appreciate it. Because the safety we seek is the safety from the oil trains, and you're providing the local safety as we go back and forth to parking. Our next speaker is Councilman Henry Pruitt, Teaneck Town Council.
All right, Henry.
Is there anybody here from Teaneck? Without question, America is the greatest place to live on the planet Earth. America also has a constant struggle with itself. Is the bottom line income of a company more important than the safety of the American people.
No!
Bakken oil is one of the most dangerous commodities transported by rail in our country. The Riverline Railroad in Bergen County travels through a very densely populated of our communities. We know that this substance can be stabilized to be less volatile. We also know this will result in a significant loss in revenue to the oil companies. Profit must be reduced and safety must be increased. We also know that there are upgraded tanker cars that could be used to improve the safety of the transport. This also will reduce the profit to the oil companies. Profit must be reduced and safety must be increased. We've gathered here today to point out the lethal nature of oil in our drinking water, and we ask that steps be taken to protect our drinking water from this threat. This gathering is a demand that America downgrade its thirst for the bottom line profit and raise up its concern for the safety of the people.
All right. Yeah.
I'm so excited. We have our next speaker. It has to speak immediately because it's his 25th wedding anniversary and he has to get going. He's got a 2-hour drive. Jeff Tittle, director of the Sierra Club.
All right.
My other half said, surprise me on our anniversary. Said, well, I'm going to a rally against oil. Yeah,
right.
So that's with you. That's not really a surprise. But I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the Riverkeeper for providing the microphone and everything else.
Can you hear him?
Organizing. I'm Jeff Tittle. I'm here on behalf of the 2 million members and supporters of the Sierra Club that says enough of these pipe bombs on wheels. The Sierra Club petitioned the Federal Department of Transportation last year to put a moratorium on all these crude trains until the trains are fixed or there's a safer method. DOT rejected our petition, and we're in federal court along with Earth Justice, which used to be Sierra Club Legal Defense Fund, trying to get a ban on these trains until they're proven safe and they have safe replacements.
Yes.
All right.
What people have to understand that both in Galena, Illinois and in West Virginia, some of the train cars that actually ruptured and exploded and burnt were the new safer. So it proves that these trains are not safe at any speed.
No, they're not designed for that oil.
They're not designed, nothing's designed for that.
That's right.
Bakken crude is one of the most flammable and explosive oils out there. In fact, you cannot transport gasoline the same way that you can transport Bakken crude because of it's actually more explosive and more flammable than gasoline. But you can't put gasoline in those cars, but you can put Bakken crude. And the reason, very simply, is because they could remove those compounds that are volatile up in North Dakota, but then they'd have to build plants to do it and they have to get rid of the waste. So it's cheaper for them to ship them by train car to Linden, New Jersey, and to the other refineries on the East Coast than it is to remove it, which makes absolutely no sense because it's about public health and it's about public safety.
Yes.
That's right.
I mean, you don't have to be, a rocket scientist to figure out what happened in Quebec and Toronto and West Virginia and Virginia, and now Galena, Illinois. And what I'll say is, people don't realize this, but Galena, Illinois is the birthplace of Ulysses S. Grant. And we want to make sure that what happened in his town where he grew up is that we're going to turn Galena, Illinois and these Bakken crude trains into the next Appomattox. No more.
All right.
What you have to also understand as it passes by this reservoir here, 1 quart of oil contaminates 1 million gallons of water. 1 train car holds 34,500 gallons of oil, which means that if 1 train car were to spill into this reservoir, it would actually pollute 138 billion gallons of water, but the reservoir only holds 57 billion gallons. So what it tells you is it can pollute more water than you could ever drink. More importantly, and what's really scary, is that you could lose your water supply for months because it could take weeks to months to clean that oil out in order to make that water safe enough to drink. So it's not just a threat to our homes, it's a threat to our water supply, it's a threat to our future. And what you have to understand, we have had spills and accidents in the state before. Last year in Paulsboro, a train carrying vinyl chloride derailed, and that was a disaster. Had it been Bakken crude, which goes on that same line, it would have been a tragedy of epic proportions. New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the nation. The only thing denser are the fossil fuels down in Washington that don't get it.
Fossil fuels, all right.
You know, Bakken crude is dangerous whether it's a pipe bomb on wheels, a blowtorch in a backyard from a pipeline, or on a barge. It's unsafe no matter how you do it. It needs to be banned, or it needs to be made safer out in North Dakota. But remember, they're fracking to get it out, and it's polluting the water out there and creating toxic sites and Superfund sites out there. So don't let them frack our valley, our state, our water supply, because it's all about fracking, it's all about big oil, and enough already. And in New Jersey, we also need legislation, because the legislators hopefully are still here, because Governor Christie has refused to allow the citizens of New Jersey and the towns in New Jersey to know when those trains are coming, what's on those trains, and what their schedule is. And that needs to change. And I just want to end in one thing I want to just end with, which is that we could have a green tomorrow with electric cars and windmills and solar. And the only thing that's holding us up is this addiction to this oil that's dangerous and impacts us with climate change and everything else.
And
so
wars.
what we say is, no more pipe bombs on wheels. Ban them now.
Yeah. All right, yay!
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Jess, let me just ask you a question quick. You're being recorded. I heard on the Rachel Maddow show that in Texas, they treat that oil that's been fracked before they ship it. They have the technology in Texas, but North Dakota is too cheap and lazy to do it because they're developing it too quick.
There's not enough that can be said about it. This is a really nasty bit of business that's going on in this country. The Koch brothers, ExxonMobil, these companies are dictating public policy. It's almost as though we went back to the 1800s when the railroads were writing legislation and telling the Congress what to do. I thought we were over that in this country, but apparently we're not. One of the, besides being the riverkeeper for the Hackensack River, I'm also on the council of the International Waterkeeper Alliance. And Waterkeeper Alliance is so disgusted with the lack of response on the side of the federal government and on most state governments that they've actually put together what we call a rapid response team. That's a team of lawyers and activists that can show up at a moment's notice wherever there's an accident to assist a local waterkeeper who may be on the job and may be overwhelmed by dealing with such a tragedy in their watershed. So the Waterkeeper Alliance is on the case. If a nonprofit organization like the Waterkeeper Alliance can put together rapid response teams to deal with these issues, the federal government should be able to figure out a way to prevent these issues from taking place. You got it.
That's right.
There's a couple of folks here that I want to point out to you, and I want to thank them for coming out. And first is my dear colleague from Bergen-Swan, Lori Sharkey here. Lori and the other folks associated with Swan have worked tirelessly since the 1980s to protect and preserve this watershed. And now, just when we thought we were getting a little bit ahead of the curve, Lori, these trains start rolling through, and now we've got another whole issue to deal with.
There would go 30 years of work.
Right? And it would all go down the drain, literally down the drain, with one train car going into that reservoir. It would make all of our work together as a community would be wasted because this railroad refuses to upgrade their equipment. The oil companies refuse to stabilize the fuel before they load it into these cars, and then they send it through here at top speed. Not only does it affect Bergen County, and I've looked at this train line from the river. When I go down river, these trains, they go right through not only Bergen County, but they cross over into Hudson County down in North Bergen. From North Bergen, a very densely populated city, they go into Jersey City, which is the second largest city in the state. And then from Jersey City, they cross the Hackensack River, into Kearney. From Kearney, they cross the Passaic River into Newark, the Ironbound district, and then from there they continue down into Elizabeth and Linden, down by where the refineries are. All the way, not only is our water supply at risk here, but all the way down along those train lines, you will find hospitals, you will find schools, you will find departments of public works. The things that keep our towns and our government moving are down along the railroad tracks. And if there's an accident, and it's going to put those facilities at risk, it's going to put those facilities out of business, we're not going to be able to deal with the response, because the people that are going to be supposed to be dealing with it are going to be wiped off the face of the earth by these explosions. I saw the explosion in Galena the other day, 100-foot fireball in the sky.
Oh my God.
100-foot fireball in the sky. Think, these trees aren't even 100 feet tall. Imagine a fireball that would consume these trees. There would be nothing but ashes here. And that's what, with that train track right over there, that could happen. I don't want to be a doomsday person, but if the government doesn't act, if the federal government doesn't act, and the state governments don't force the federal government to act, we're going to be in a lot of trouble here. And if we don't stop using oil and start looking at renewables, we're going to all go down together.
There you go.
All right. Well, what you can do, what can you do? Besides, I'm so grateful to everybody for coming out today. And, you know, it's not really that comfortable out here, but it's important, and I know that's why you're here. But when you go home, don't forget about what you did today. Pick up a pen and pencil, or get on your computer and write a letter. Write a letter to your assembly person. If your assembly person is Holly, thank her for coming, or Tim. But if your assembly person isn't here today, send them a letter and politely ask them why. They should be standing here in solidarity with their colleagues from this district and from the district downriver, in solidarity, saying to this railroad, we don't want your trains coming through Bergen County carrying this poisonous, toxic, explosive oil past people's homes, past people's businesses, and most importantly, putting the water supply for about 800,000 people at risk.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Riverkeeper.
We have, who's not speaking, but just thank you, Peter Ardito, who is the chairman of the Harrington Park Environmental Commission. Thank you for being here. Where are you? Over there. Thank you for being here. And is Tim Trousseau here from Albany? No, he didn't get here yet. We have statements from Senator Loretta Weinberg, who's introducing some legislation. She couldn't be here. Northvale Council President Patrick Marana and Dumont Mayor James Kelly. They've all sent statements of support for this rally. Is Tricia Sheehan here? Great. Tricia is from the Moms Clean Air Force.
Yes.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for coming out. As she said, my name is Tricia Sheehan and I work as the Regional Field Manager for Moms Clean Air Force. We're a nonprofit organization working to protect our children from toxic chemicals and air pollution that are causing our climate to change. I'm also a mother. This is my son Logan, and he has a 4-year-old brother at home, Liam. Our family, for those of you that don't know, were actually impacted from a train derailment. And as I told my son on the way here, we were lucky that it wasn't Bakken Crude. But now I have a 4-year-old son who has health effects that are lingering from his exposure, as Jeff said, to the vinyl chloride that was spilled in Paulsboro in 2012. My family knows what it's like to be impacted by a train derailment. Vinyl chloride is a carcinogen. A day doesn't go by when I don't wonder if we will get cancer, and if we do, how soon or late it will happen.
Yay!
I know that our communities, first responders, are not equipped to handle disasters of the magnitude that these trains are capable of creating, because I saw it happen in my own community. Children were instructed to walk home from school through the cloud of toxic vinyl chloride because of a lack of information that the first responders had at the time.